Hello Taurus, and welcome to my channel, Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus signs, looking at your connection to the person that you are dealing with and needing to learn the most from right now. We are looking at all three sides of the connection, so we've got your energy toward it, their energy toward it, and the energy in between it, the concept being that there are three sides to every story. So we're looking at, your version of the truth, their version of the truth, and this higher level unbiased truth in the middle. This middle section is really looking at what is the deeper purpose of the connection and the best way for you to move forward in order to align further with your higher self. As I do in all of my readings, I've pulled the overall energy and clarified those messages as well as the overall theme for the reading, which we'll jump into in just a second, but I still have a different tarot deck I'll be using for each side of the connection, as well as the advice deck, kind of out of the frame here, but the advice deck that I'll be using to close out the reading in the extended. Any information on the extended reading or on booking a personal reading with me is in the description box below. Last thing, please remember that these are general readings. They are not here to resonate fully for everyone, and they won't resonate fully for everyone. So do please remember to take what does resonate and helps your personal situation and leave what does not. On that note, the whole reading can be reversed. If that is the case for you, it's totally fine and totally normal. Again, take what helps, leave what doesn't. All right, Taurus, let's jump on in. On your side of this connection, you have trust the universe with the Emperor in reverse. I feel like this Emperor in reverse is it really speaks volumes, I think, to where this connection is at, because this is very much like this person, I feel like, is kind of driving you crazy. I don't know if it's necessarily just their behavior or their action or their lack of action or their words or what it is, but I do feel like it's having a really big effect on you, and there's a lot of frustration that I'm reading into this energy. Frustration that this person is doing certain things or not doing certain things. And I feel, with this trust the universe card, it's kind of like this need to really give it over because, again, I feel like this is having such an impact on you that it's, if you don't kind of give it over, it might start to impact, your emotional health, your physical health, your mental health. I don't know. I definitely feel like this is having a really deep impact on your life. Sometimes our relationships can start to spill over into our life as well. Now, keep in mind that these don't just have to be romantic relationships. These can be friendships. These can be family relationships. Again, just take it as it resonates. But, make sure you're having an open mind when you're listening to the messages. Now, this person, it's all an act with the Moon card. I feel like this person's actions or inactions, the things that are driving you crazy are very, very fear-driven. Now, fear can also cause us to create an illusion where, we kind of live in a reality that makes it easier for us to kind of handle life. What is the best way to say this? Even though this person might be like doing things to hurt other people, their reality might be like, oh, it's their fault, not mine. Like lack of accountability, things of that nature. And that's very fear driven. That's the fear that, if they admit certain things to themselves, like that they're going to kind of have to face deeper parts of themselves. And every person in this world, until they kind of go through a spiritual awakening, healing journey, like we do the best that we can to run from ourselves because it's scary in there, and we actually try to face who we are. And I feel like this person in particular, through this connection, their actions are really coming from this place to avoid having to face who they really are. So that's why, I think it's always so much easier said than done, but it's a huge thing in the spiritual community, the self-help community, of not taking other people's actions personally, because other people's actions or decisions or choices or whatever the case is never have anything to do with us and have everything to do with them. Now, they're personal relationships. So naturally, we're going to take it personally, and it's going to start to affect us because we're going to go, why aren't you loving me enough to change your behavior? Or why aren't you, caring about me enough to treat me better? When in reality, other people's capacity to love and care for us is a direct reflection of their own individual journey and really doesn't have anything to do with us. Now, in between this connection, you have some people never change with the Empress. And I like this Empress energy for you, whether you're male or female, it doesn't matter. The Empress is really just an energy of you doing what's best for you, regardless of what somebody else really has to say about it. And I think that can be really hard for a lot of people, especially when you're dealing with someone that you really care about. Like choosing yourself and putting yourself first and prioritizing yourself can be really hard sometimes, especially if you're dealing with someone that isn't able to like hear you. Like if you're saying you're doing these things to hurt me and they're like, oh no, that's you, that's not me. You know, if they're not taking accountability, it can be really hard to choose yourself because you're like, why don't you see the things that you're doing? Like, why don't you see how this is affecting me? Now, there's a reason that I feel this connection affects you on such a deep level, and it's because of this overall theme of the reading, which is healing family issues. So I feel like this connection is a very deep reflection, if it is like romantic or like even like friendship related, then it's a deep reflection of a deeper wounding dynamic that you have experienced in like familial issues. So maybe with your parents or with just kind of your dynamic with your family in general. You know, our first experience of love is our parents. And if our parents lack the capacity to love us in the way that we deserve, which if people haven't healed or grown or kind of worked on their own wounding, they're going to pass that down to us. And we're going to start to inherit their limited capacity to love and we're going to start to view it from this place of this is the limit of love that I'm deserving of, that I'm capable of receiving. And whether or not we realize it, we will actually take that wounding and we will replicate it in our adult relationships. So, you know, our parents teach us how lovable we are, how deserving we are. And if they don't love us appropriately, you know, now it's important to say, like, sure, your parents might have been doing the best they can, but the best that they could have done can still hurt you, right? Both can be true. So I'm not saying, like, this is like, F your parents, you know, screw them. I think that it's really just saying that we have to recognize where our deeper wounding stems from and how that wounding shows up in our adult relationships and how we look for a change in outcome in situations that actually really remind us of earlier experiences with love through love in our adulthood. So I don't know, we're getting deep just right away. But, you know, before I go any further into that, let's start here, Taurus, with your side of this connection. You have trust the universe with the Emperor in reverse. This is Taurus's side of this connection. And I feel like you have this desire, like, because I do feel like you love and care about this person. And I feel like you're like, if they could just change, or if things could just be a little bit different, like this could be a really good connection. But I feel like a lot of, you know, our perception of what could be in relationships can ultimately drive us to making decisions that aren't best for us because we're holding on to the potential of someone more so than who someone shows up as. But Taurus's side of the connection, trust the universe with the Emperor in reverse here. The Knight of Swords in reverse. I knew we were going to see this card. The Knight of Swords in reverse, and then the Four of Cups in reverse with the Ten of Wands, and then there's the Fool. So you're wanting a new beginning in this connection. I feel like you're wanting things to either like start over or to get to a better place, or I'm not quite sure, but I feel like you're wanting a new beginning, and I feel like you're doing everything that you can to bring that about. And I feel in the process of that, you've started feeling very burdened here with the Ten of Wands. I feel like you're starting to hold on to maybe a lot of resentment, or, you know, you've had to put up with a lot of mistreatment for the sake of trying to make the connection work, of trying to bring it to this Fool, to some sort of a new beginning. And in the process of that, I feel like you've kind of lost, like, maybe yourself a little bit, or certainly lost your ability to choose yourself, because I feel like choosing yourself would directly go against making this connection work. And you might be like, well, why can't I have both? Like, why can't I choose myself and make the connection work? Well, some people actually benefit in their connections with the people that they're dealing with, not having boundaries and not choosing themselves. And those types of people are the takers of the world. You know, we have givers and we have takers, and givers are going to give, and takers are going to take. But takers are going to have takers can take as much as they want. They're going to say, give me all the energy, give me all the love, give me all, your good stuff. And then you as the giver here, Taurus, you're going to have a limit. You're going to go, well, I've given you everything I have. I've put everything into this. I've continued to show up. I've loved you unconditionally, and I've tried, but I have nothing left to give, because in the process of me giving, you've been taking and not reciprocating, and I haven't been able to give to myself because I'm giving so much to you, so my freaking cup's empty. And you're going to sit there and you're going to go, I have nothing left to give. And the taker's going to go, okay, sounds good. I'm going to have to go find somewhere else to take from. Now, one of the things I want to bring forth into this is that usually when people are in that like taker role, it's not something that they're really consciously aware of. It's not like they're like, I'm going to take everything that I can from this person, and then when they have nothing left to give, I'm going to go figure out how I can get it from someone else. Energy vampires very rarely are actually aware of what they're doing. And I do feel like that's what this person is. I'm just going to straight up say it. I do. I feel like you with the 10 of Wands here, like you are bearing the burden of this connection, and you are showing up in it in like the best way you know how, over and over and over again. And it continues to drain you. And I think that what we kind of have to look at is, because sometimes when we get fully drained, when we've given everything that we have to a taker, and then the taker, is like, oh, you don't have anything else to give, and maybe, goes to a different energy source, or pulls away from the connection, or makes us feel bad for that, we're going to start to second guess our worth. The giver is going to start to second guess their worth, and they're going to say, how was I not enough? I gave this everything I have. How is I not enough? How come I'm not lovable? How come I'm not good enough? When in reality, like I started this reading, it doesn't have anything to do with you. So, I think sometimes we have to look at how we're trying to push someone to be somebody that they like aren't capable of being. Now, what I want to get to the bottom of is how this dynamic is repeating for you in adult relationships, because again, I feel like this is something that you're very used to in love, maybe being on the giver side, being someone who is constantly showing up for the connection, the one always putting in the energy and the effort and making the decisions, but never feeling like you are equally supported in that partnership. And I feel like, that typically stems from this belief that your value is going to be directly correlated with the amount of value that somebody else sees in you. If you deal with like, maybe parents that only valued you if you made them feel valuable, with your achievements, or with your being on good behavior, like if those were the only times that you felt loved and you felt valued, then you have come to believe that your lovableness and your value depends on how much you are making other people happy. And then in that process, you will self-sacrifice to make other people happy. And that is where you start to lose yourself a little bit, because it's not that you're trying to, it's that part of you is saying, well, this is what gets me love. This is what makes me valuable. But if you give so much to the extent that it still doesn't work, you're going to start to think, okay, I'm unlovable. I'm not valuable, because even everything I have to give isn't enough. That was a really long first message. All right, Taurus, your side of the connection to the person that you're dealing with. Taurus' side of the connection to the person you're dealing with. There we go. I was like, man, I just am still talking, huh? Okay, Hermit in reverse. This connection makes you feel very alone. There's the Queen of Cups. I feel like this is how you're showing up. I feel like you're showing up as this Queen of Cups. Loving, nurturing, caring, compassionate, the giver. The Queen of Cups is the giver, in this reading. And I feel like, this connection has made you feel very alone. It's made you feel as if what you have to give isn't enough, and you're always there for them, and you're always there to support them and make sure that they're happy and their needs are taken care of. But then it's like crickets on the other side. Whenever you're needing help or you're needing support, it's like they're nowhere to be found. And I think that that's where we can start to really second guess our worth in connections that do take a lot from us, because in that process, we're going to start to go, what's wrong with me? But, it's not, and I'm not saying like, oh, you've been perfect, you haven't made any mistakes, okay? That's not realistic. We've all made mistakes and nobody is perfect. But, being willing to kind of look at, okay, if I can genuinely say I'm showing up in the best way that I know how, and this person is incapable of matching that energy, then like what is it that I can do to take my power back? Because this person doesn't deserve to have as much like effect on you or power over you, that they do. But I feel like for some reason, even if you don't want them to, like, it still affects you. And I think that that is where this kind of deeper wounding being triggered is really stemming from. All right, Taurus' side of the connection. You could also be dealing with a water sign, Scorpio, Cancer, or Pisces, but you do not have to be. This is Taurus' side of the connection. The Ace of Cups, 4 of Swords in reverse. Okay, I think this is you needing to be honest about how much this connection drains you, because this 4 of Swords in reverse is literally like the energy of your soul being drained. It's like the energy vampire draining you kind of energy, and I feel like that's what you're experiencing here. I really, really do. And I think that, I'm not saying that this is a bad person, okay? I think that if this person is living in this moon energy, like this illusion, this fear, self-preservation, have to make sure that I don't face the deep parts of myself kind of thing, running from their shadow. If they are living in that energy, then what you are dealing with is not a bad person, but an unhealed person. And sure, most bad people are unhealed people, because hurt people hurt people. And, when you take a look at the dynamic and you start to be honest with yourself about how much this is taking from you, then you can start the process of figuring out how to take your power back. And maybe you already have, and maybe this is just like confirmation, validation that like, yeah, you deserve more than this. But that's not for me to decide. That's for you to decide. You have to be the one that says like, I do deserve more than this. Enough is enough. You have to be honest with yourself about that. And I feel like, it's really hard to do that when you do love and care about someone, because you'll want to go, oh, well, it's worth it. It's worth having this person in my life, or it's worth being with this person, or whatever the case is. But is it really worth losing yourself? Is it really worth you consistently feeling not good enough? And when, we start to look at it that way, we have to also be willing to say, if the universe, if there are people out there who are meant to love you in the way that you deserve, would you spend your time trying to change somebody to be able to love you in the way that you deserve? Or would you be willing to choose yourself, let go, walk away, set a boundary, whatever's necessary in order to protect yourself? Because I feel like that's what this is about, is this need, instead of trying to focus on changing them, figuring out how you can protect yourself so that you aren't getting drained so much here. All right. This person's energy toward Taurus, it's all an act with the moon. What is going on with them? This person's energy toward Taurus. That's confusing. The 2 of Swords in reverse with the 8 of Wands. That's very like, oh, Page of Swords. Okay. Okay, I don't really believe in regrets. Like, I think that every decision that I, regret, I needed to make that decision to learn that wasn't the right decision for me. Like, I think that, yes, if I were to be faced with those experiences again, I would do things differently, but I wouldn't know that now if I hadn't been through that, okay? But one of my biggest regrets, and I promise this is going to relate to the message, one of my biggest regrets is the amount of time that I spent trying to make people who were determined to not hear and understand me try to hear and understand me. I think that we believe that if we can tell someone how much that they've hurt us, or show them how painful the experience has been for us, or how much they've taken from us, that we can change things. And with this Page of Swords, 2 of Swords in reverse, and then the 8 of Wands, I feel like, because the 2 of Swords in reverse to me is like stagnancy. And I feel like this person is super, super freaking stuck in this reality that they've created. This reality that keeps them protected from having to really face reality, the truth of the situation, that they're hurting you, they're affecting you, and who knows, because if they make an honest realization of like how they've affected you, then that's going to open the can of worms of them having to be honest with themselves about everything else that they've ever done, right? Which is not fun, and people don't like doing that. People don't like looking at themselves in the mirror and kind of facing the deeper parts of themselves. You know, you don't like that. We don't like, nobody likes that. Okay. But it's imperative to growth and to our soul's journey here. And so and especially to creating healthy relationships. And, you know, I think that that's where we have to understand, like, we have to, because this person is stuck. Like, they are so stuck in their ways. And I feel like you have to be willing to accept that on some level, so that you stop trying to waste your time and energy trying to get them out of that reality. Because they're more determined to stay in this reality and protect themselves from getting hurt than they are making this connection work. And that has absolutely nothing to do with your value, and everything to do with this person's determination to not face themselves, to hide from themselves, to run from themselves, to stay in their little bubble of, call it delusion, okay? I feel like I'm not trying to be mean to this person. I'm going to be honest with you. I used to be this person, okay? I used to be a taker in my relationships, and I, you know, would eventually take. The other person wouldn't give, or would run out of what they had to give, and I wouldn't know what to do. It's like I didn't find value in the relationship anymore, and that's because I was not loving myself. I was not showing up for myself in relationships in the way that I needed to be for myself, much less for somebody else. Now, I think that that's why I've learned to have empathy for the takers of the world, is because in my relationships where I was the taker, it was never my intention. I was never trying to hurt other people. I was so deeply hurt that I was looking for somebody to save me. And when somebody proved that they couldn't save me anymore, then it was like, oh, okay, gotta go somewhere else to be saved. But then I did a little bit of healing and a lot of growth, and then I ended up on this side of connections where I was the giver, and I would give, and I would, be fine with not taking, because a part of me believed that since I had spent so long taking, I only deserved to give, and that opened a whole nother world for me of trauma. And it wasn't until I started to look at, like, okay, I have to learn how to be in a reciprocal relationship, that the value or the quality of my relationship started to change. So what I'm saying is, I have empathy for this person. I understand where they're coming from. I get that, I get why they do the things that they do and things like that. But, and maybe you do too, but unconditional empathy for another person and the things that they do does not equal unconditional tolerance for their behavior. And I feel like, it's obvious that their behavior is draining you. And if you continue to try to get them to see that they need to change their behavior at the extent of your, to where it's affecting your mental health, what you need to know is that you are actually just feeding into that giver role even more. You cannot save other people. And I feel like in some way, maybe you're trying to a little bit. Other people have to be open to saving themselves. And sure, you can support people on that journey, but it just feels like this person is so stuck in their world that it doesn't feel like it's possible. This person's energy toward Taurus. Seven of Swords, yeah. See, this is where it gets complicated, because I feel like the person that, I feel like this person kind of puts on a mask of who they really are. They hide, because again, if they don't want to face who they really are, if they don't know who they really are, they're not going to be able to show up as who they really are. Now, you might see through that mask, you might know who they really are, and you might love them anyway. You might say, I see all your flaws, I see all these things, and I love you anyway. But then you're disappointed when this person doesn't show up as the person that they really are, because this person doesn't know how to do that. The Seven of Swords to me is really this energy of putting on a mask, of hiding. And I feel like this person is in, like I said, and I again, that's why I told this whole story of like I've been here, is I don't think they're a bad person. I think this person is incapable of showing up for love in the way that you are ultimately deserving of, okay? Now, that does not mean you can't have it. That does not mean that, sorry, you're screwed, like you'll never be able to be loved. It just means that there is a deeper wound that is needing to be addressed and healed, so that you can get to a place of attracting the love you truly deserve and desire, instead of attracting this dynamic in particular that drains you so freaking much. Because that draining is a result of you believing, because we accept the love we think we deserve. So if you're accepting this bare minimum love or this lack of love even that this person is showing up with, then on some level you've been taught that that's all that you're deserving of. And it's not, but we have to learn to show up believing that we're deserving of more in order to experience more. And if this person is it's like they're so determined not to change, and maybe they're even determined to get you to change, right? To try to get you to see their side. But I feel like their side is very fear-driven. It's very much coming from this place of, their shadow, the unhealed, traumatized version of themselves that they aren't really interested in facing or healing. And we can't make people heal. We can't force people to change. We can't love them into changing or shame them into changing or guilt them into changing. And the more that we try, the more that we're going to feel inherently not good enough, because it's never going to work. So there is something really freaking deep going on here. And I get why, typically these kinds of connections, people can think, oh, this is a twin flame or whatever the case is, because there can be such an intense pull to the other person because they are literally mirroring your wounding back to you. And I feel like that's where you have to kind of look at the deeper, like what's really going on below the surface is it's not always so black and white. And just ultimately knowing that the value that you provide in your relationships, being so giving and compassionate and, caring, that is valuable. It is so beyond valuable. And if somebody else isn't able to see that value, that does not undermine that value or take away from that value. That means that person, well, let me put it this way. If you handed someone a handful of diamonds and you said, here are some diamonds, and that person said, no thanks, and threw them in the trash, you wouldn't question the value of the diamonds. You would question why the hell that person is throwing away the diamonds, right? We can't allow other people's decisions to dictate what we think our value is, which is really easy to do when we love and care about someone, or when we've been taught that our value is less than what it really is. And I feel like that's what this Empress in between here is really saying, is like, choosing and valuing yourself regardless of what this person has to say or how they act or how they treat you, and being able to say, I love you and I care about you, but I can't do this anymore. It's very much in alignment with the let them theory. And the let them theory is basically this idea that you have to let people be who they are. Like, let them disrespect you, let them cross your boundaries, let them treat you poorly. And instead of trying to change them, say, okay, I have all of the information that I need, and then act accordingly. Set your boundaries, stand up for yourself, distance yourself if needed, whatever it is that you need to do to make sure that you are protected, that your energy is being treated like the valuable diamond that it is. All right, this person's energy toward Taurus. Yeah, the Magician in reverse. This is literally the energy of not having the tools. Like, they don't have what it takes to be in a healthy reciprocal relationship. And I think you know that, but I think your goal is like, but they could. Like, I see this potential and I see glimpses of them, and sometimes things are really good, or that one time they treated me really well. But if, one of the things my therapist taught me was the 80-20 rule in relationships. And if 80% of the time things are good and 20% of the time they're not so good, it's 80 or more, 20 or less, then that's probably a pretty healthy relationship. But if 80% or more of the time things are not so good and 20% or less of the time things are good, meaning that you're spending the majority of your time wishing that things were better, wishing that you were getting treated better, wishing that, this person was showing up more, then that is an indication that there's something deeper going on, that there's something in that connection that is keeping you from being able to be, to be treated the way that you deserve, ultimately, because this connection doesn't treat you like you deserve. Like, this is like you deserve better than this. I think you know this, and I think you're trying to change this person or show up in this connection so that maybe this person sees that you deserve better too. But when some people are so determined to hide from that truth, they are not going to hear you. Nothing that you say and nothing that you do is going to get through to them. Best lesson I ever learned is sometimes you kind of just have to stop. You got to trust the universe. You have to give it over, and you have to say, I can't change this, but I know that I'm deserving of the love that I truly desire. And if this person can't give that to me, that's not an indication that I can't have that love. It's an indication that I'm looking for it in somebody who isn't capable of providing me with that love. Okay, I'm cutting readings a little bit short this week. I'm going to hop on over to the extended. You have Some People Never Change with the Empress. I'm still going to pull messages, and then I have an advice card that I'm going to close out the reading with at the very end. I was sick like a month ago, but I'm still playing catch up on personal readings, but I don't want to stop putting general readings out. So this will help me still put out some general readings for you guys, but still have the energy to make sure I'm showing up for the other stuff. So thank you so much, as always, Taurus, for your support of my channel. I do obviously hope that this reading helped and resonated with you in a way that you were needing today. And as always, Taurus, I wish you nothing but love and healing on your journey moving forward. All right, bye, Taurus.